Hello and welcome. This is TVWan News coming to you live from PNG's capital, Port Moresby. I'm Salome Vincent. In this edition, O'Neill defends his government's decision to borrow, more drama over the free education policy, and care centre for children with special needs. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has again defended his government's decision to borrow in order to pay for infrastructure development like roads and bridges throughout the country. He told Parliament that borrowing was not bad for the country, saying the country's debt levels were much lower compared to other Pacific Island countries.
The deputy opposition leader raised concerns about the government's excessive borrowing, highlighting the recent funding allocation for the Yalabu-Pangia Road. He asked the Prime Minister to give a figure on the total amount owed by the country and queried whether there would be more borrowings before the issue of writs.
Mr. Speaker, mipla opposition tu mipla warilo dinau mak pro Papua New Guinea. Now, this tupla latest dinau government kisin emi come up close to 300 million. Question blame mosem mipla opposition like sawe ina Prime Minister talk straight lo this 300 million dinau now go and by 80 go on top lo current dinau blo Papua New Guinea stop enough to clear amas dinau mak Papua New Guinea carry at the moment. Narapla question mosem before the issue of rich government vaccine more dinau or no got and by announcing close to or no got suppose no got I must make him clear of Parliament so all people of Papua New Guinea must sawa.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill clarified that the funding for the infrastructure projects came from concessional loans like the Asian Development Bank.
Display and be part of the ADB Highlands Highway Rehabilitation Trench Funds that has been used to roll out programs and maintaining roads in 5 or 6 of the provinces in the Highlands provinces, starting from Eastern Islands, you go all the way up to Southern Islands. Now, there's a trench now in Penisland, maybe come up Southern Islands and last one, where Nipa to Mendi Road was approved and Yalabu-Pangia Road was approved as well. And we ongoing program for the last 10 or 15 years, Mr. Speaker.
He told the House that the government would not be getting any more new loans. However, he stressed that PNG's debt level is low in comparison to other Pacific Island countries.
Plan or Loksim Nubla loan, Nipla is stop within the limits below the Physical Responsibilities Act, where EMI talk clear some loan blow you must stop below 30% of GDP. We are within the limit, Mr. Speaker, and we are within the limit, in fact, much better than many countries around the world. Many countries around the world. In fact, yesterday at the Leaders Summit, the day before at the Leaders Summit, even within our region in the Pacific, we are one of the lowest in terms of our debt levels compared to many of our friends within the region.
Adding that the country needs to borrow to build the necessary infrastructure. Meredith Kusa, TVWan News.
Kairakuhiri MP Peter Isoaimo today asked the Prime Minister to clarify why the proposed Commission of Inquiry into the Manu Manu land deal was downgraded to an administrative inquiry. O'Neill said there was a ruling by the courts which deemed Commission of Inquiries as illegal. Thus, he was advised by his lawyers to conduct an administrative inquiry instead.
Mr. Speaker, but subsequent to that, I was advised by our officials that there is a court order in place, which were taken out when we put the Commission of Inquiry into the legal fees. That Postman Kua lawyers went to the Supreme Court and got an order to say that commissions of inquiries in this country are illegal. Now, that matter has been challenged in court, and as while it is in court, we cannot establish a commission of inquiry. There is a fact. This is an order from the Supreme Court. But that does not mean that we cannot have an inquiry continuing. So that is why we have put in an administrative inquiry, to establish the facts on why systems of government has fallen apart.
Richard Pagen has been officially sworn in as an ombudsman. His swearing in now brings the total ombudsman to 2. Chief Ombudsman Michael Dick says there's one more ombudsman position to be filled. However, he is confident both him and Pagen will head the office well.
Richard Pagen from Enga Province was officially sworn in today by the Governor-General Bob Dadai at the Government House. Mr. Pagen is not new to the Ombudsman Commission. He has spent the last 18 years working as an investigator.
I was doing much of my work is investigation, from processing of that complaint that has come to the commission right into going into the legislative tribunal as witness. I have been an investigator with that experience in terms of investigation will excel me in decision makings when the complaints that come to us.
At this stage, having Mr. Pagen appointed and sworn in as the Ombudsman, that leaves one more Ombudsman to be filled, which is the Accountant Ombudsman, which I left vacant. And the Ombudsman Appointment Committee is aware of that, and they will make that appointment in due course.
With well-vested knowledge of the functions of the Ombudsman, Mr. Pagen is committed to continue his services to the Commission and the people of Papua New Guinea.
In delivering, we cannot say that we will eradicate the corruption, because that's what people think Ombudsman Commission is doing now. We want to be partnering with the people and the government to assist in the service delivery to the people of Papua New Guinea. And for that, I thank the Ombudsman Appointment Committee to show their confidence and trust in me in appointing me as an Ombudsman.
Mr. Richard Pagen will serve a term of 5 years. Shamin Poriambe, TVWan News.
There should not be any more special agriculture business leases given out. This was the message by the Lands Minister Benny Allen when responding to claims by Oro Governor Gary Jufa that 300,000 hectares of land in his province were given away recently.
Oro Governor Gary Jufa claimed the 300,000 hectares of land had been issued to a Malaysian businessman under SABL.
In regards to an area of land in Oro Province, known as the Musa Pongani area, where almost 300,000 hectares of land have been prepared for an SABL to be issued, facilitated by officers in lands and the Department of Agriculture and Forestry. They are being facilitated to be sold to a Malaysian businessman. I have intervened and carried out some inquiries and have engaged a lawyer to put a stop to this, as that land area affects 30,000 people who are unaware about what is going on.
He asked the Land Minister to confirm if the SABL leases were still being given out despite the government cancelling them in 2014. Minister Allen confirmed that since the termination of the SABLs, no new leases have been issued. He said he would look into the governor's claims.
The blanket cancellation. So since 2014, the department has not issued any new SABLs. And today we have not. So if we have to issue an SABL lease, it will be illegal. It will be illegal. But Honourable Mr. Speaker, I would ask the governor to give me the specific portion of land, and I will find out if some of the officers in the department are assisting that group to issue that.
In a supplementary, Jufa queried if there was an investigative arm in the Land Department.
The second portion of my question is about whether the Lands Department has an investigative capacity to investigate this type of, well, essentially there are crimes being committed. Does your department have that investigative capacity, and if not, then what are you doing about it?
Yes, sir. As and when complaints come to the department, yes, we do send officers to investigate those complaints from landowners or complaints from anyone concerning land.
Meredith Kusa, TVWan News.
Papua New Guinea has pledged its full support to assist Tonga prepare for the hosting of the Pacific Games in 2019. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill reinforced PNG's support at a meeting with Her Royal Highness Princess Angelica Latufui-Peka Atukua, who is also Tonga's High Commissioner to Papua New Guinea.
Princess Angelica presented her credentials at the Government House on Tuesday. Today she met with the Prime Minister and among issues discussed raised the prospect of increased labour mobility between Tonga and PNG and increasing investment opportunities. But more pleasing for Tonga is O'Neill's commitment of assistance to the small island country who has been given a massive task to host the 2019 Pacific Games. O'Neill said Papua New Guinea is committed to help Tonga with infrastructure and knowledge support for their hosting of the Pacific Games. Mindful of the challenging economic circumstances around the region, the Prime Minister said PNG's support to Tonga will be guided by current economic conditions and will be carefully targeted. Meantime, apart from discussing business and investment, O'Neill stressed on labour mobility as an important issue for Pacific Island nations that needs to be advanced. O'Neill said the Pacific Islands Forum would like to see skilled workers from member countries working around the region. Glenda, Popot, TVWan News.
Nurses at the Daru Hospital have threatened to stop work if their demand for health compensation is not met. The nurses are fighting for their rights and lives after 13 of the medical and support staff contracted the drug-resistant TB from patients.
According to Sister Dawa Tuti from Daru Hospital, the first case of a staff contracting the drug-resistant or DRTB from patients was in 2009. The number of staff contracting the drug-resistant TB increased between 2011 and 2015 when there was no infection control standards. Today, there are 12 staff with the multi-drug-resistant TB and 1 with the extremely drug-resistant TB. Sister Dawa blamed the government's negligence on its part to protect the health officers from contracting infections when attending to patients. Following the drug-resistant TB breakout, the nurses pleaded to the responsible authorities for assistance, including the provincial government. Governor for Western Province, Ati Wabiro, responded by promising 17 million kina. 10 million kina was for Daru Hospital and 7 million kina for staff incentives. That commitment, they say, is yet to be fulfilled. While measures have been taken to establish infection control standards through NGO partners, the staff with DRTB and their families continue to physically and financially struggle with the bacteria. And they have had enough. They are now petitioning the Daru Hospital Board to get answers on Wabiro's commitment for health compensation and also the Health Department on the latest developments on a policy aimed at addressing these issues. The nurses have handed the petition today to the Hospital Board Chairman and have given them 7 days to respond. Shamin Poriambe, TVWan News.
How will APEC 2018 benefit the ordinary Papua New Guinean? This was the question asked to a panel of distinguished APEC experts during an event organized by the Australian High Commission and the PNG APEC Secretariat on Tuesday evening in Port Moresby.
The event was held at the Ritzy Stanley Hotel on the 19th floor. It was attended by a number of high-profile people, both in the private and public sector. The 3 distinguished panelists, alongside PNG APEC's ambassador Ivan Pomilu, spoke on why PNG is in a privileged position to be hosting APEC 2018.
We have, in my view, an unprecedented level of cooperation amongst a number of very key government agencies in thinking through a lot of the policies that we are proposing for next year, and we hope that that will come through as an important part of an entire government action plan going into the next parliament. And that's my view in terms of how we see things going through during our host, but when we host, we exert a level of commitment.
We hope that we'll see progress on the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which will bring together the East Asian economies.
The work that APEC does is basically trying to help integrate the whole Asia-Pacific region economically. We don't do politics, we don't do social stuff, we only do economics. And that's the glue that's kept us together over 25, 27 turbulent years, and it will keep us together in the future.
Senior analyst Carlos Kelliyama, who is also from Peru, spoke on the Peruvian experience when the country hosted back in 2016.
Thanks to APEC, we got trade agreements with very big players such as US, China, Korea, Japan, among others. We also strengthened our trade links with our Latin American partners such as Chile and Mexico. So in those agreements have helped, I would say it was the last figures I saw, it was 3,700 SMEs to export for the first time to all those markets. So this is very significant.
A question on whether there would be free movement of labour was also asked. However, Bollard stated that free labour movement was highly unlikely. Australia, along with other development partners, have been working closely with the PNG APEC Secretariat to ensure all elements of staging a successful 2018 APEC summit are in order. Meredith Kusa, TV1 News.
The body of a female was found on the banks of the Bumbu River in Lae City this morning. Lae's Metropolitan Superintendent Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. said the body was discovered by people living near the river. The deceased has been identified as a young woman from Eastern Highlands Province and had resided at the Talia compound. Initial police inquiry reported that she had gone out with a known male last night. Wagambi says what happened from then on is a matter for police investigation to establish. Police has already commenced investigation and is appealing to the public for any information. And this is TV1 News. Kagwa District has a new police barracks and a new secondary school for Mosby South. We'll have those stories and more when we return.